guys, welcome to the 7 show again. We are live from Dune Con 2025 from Buenos Aires. I think thanks to the Dune team, Matt, you also, to let us use the space and do the podcast, and also for giving us your time. So you are quite busy. It's your conference, and like Dune is one of the most important and used project in our ecosystem. You must have been speaking for days at end. How it has been so far in this Dev Connect and Buenos Aires?
Yeah, I mean, I've loved it so far. I think Argentina is a great place to host the Dev Connect. I mean, there's a rising crypto adoption here. It's been great. DuneCon so far has been really good. We've gathered like community, customers, blockchains, protocols, really like good high signal people from everywhere, and it's been a lot of good conversations. My voice is giving out from everything, so yeah, it's great to be here, and thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Like as I mentioned, as everybody in the viewers, listeners know, that Dune is one of the project of the ecosystem. Like a lot of the data-driven things are based on it. We'd like to go a little bit back in time and know where was the start of Dune happened, in which space. And you were mentioning before we started recording that you had a stint in Web 2 in JavaScript, front-end and engineering. How you two founders met, how Dune came happening, and how you guys take it forward.
Cool. So yeah, after in university, I basically studied mathematics, and I fell in love with programming. So I wanted to do data science. That was my dream, so to speak. But after university, I took like a software engineering job for a year. Then I moved on to a data science role at a large company in Norway, where I met Frederick. Frederick was at the time, he was like CryptoPill a little bit before me. This was 2017. And I just got into it through like the ICO boom and everything, and starting to get really interested.
This was back in
2017. So it's, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, when we started Dune, it was always like, we knew that we wanted to do crypto. And then it's kind of a coincidence that it became data, because it's just my background. Like, I need data, and I was really interested. And when we started prototyping smart contracts, there was just no tooling around data. Like, it was so early. Like, the only tools that existed were block explorers. So it really felt like an opportunity to make an impact.
Mm-hmm. How Dune has evolved over the course of time? Like, initially, who were your pilot users? Where you thought, okay, we will make it for only Ethereum, or we'll make it for maybe a few data nerds or researchers.
Yeah.
How you started the project initially?
Okay, so this is actually a big learning from running a company in crypto, which is traditionally you think of product market fit as a function of your product. If you don't have product market fit, you'll iterate on your product until you find product market fit. In crypto, it's a little different, because not only is the product a variable, but the market is also a variable, right? The market grows and it shrinks, and it grows and it shrinks through like these bubbles and busts. And so initially our focus was, we're going to be like a B2B data provider for companies. But then the market for that was a total of like 10, 15 protocols that had any on-chain volume. Ethereum was basically the only smart contract platform at the time. And so there's no market. So what we did instead was like, well, there's very few businesses building, but there's tons of consumers. And for like, if this happens, like, there needs to be a way to access this data. So we sort of moved from like this B2B to a B2C. And that's where everybody knows Dune from, right? Like, you can just sign up, start querying, create dashboards. And then in 2020, this really exploded with DeFi Summer. And since then, like, Dune dashboards has been everywhere. Now the market is really mature, right? You have a lot of these things that started out looking like toys, like protocols like Uniswap and Morpho and all things, are now like proper businesses, and they need data support. So now sort of the market is shifting like sort of back into making the B2B thing more real. So now we're also making sure that we grow with, everyone who's building in the space. What used to be a founder writing a protocol and writing a Dune dashboard is now a 100-person team. So we're trying to like really provide all the infrastructure necessary.
In one question which you were there in the the AMA round when you guys were taking the AMAs, one good question I heard that is Dune focusing on institutions morely and less of retail. What do you like to talk about that? Is Dune positioning itself as a institution product and or like less of retail, and how the the balance is looking going forward?
I think we're definitely positioning ourselves to be more of a business tool than a consumer tool. Like everybody likes to talk about institutions, but in reality, I think we're just very, very early. Like you see news like banks announcing stable coins, etc. But the reality is, I think it's still a little way out. And I think I was going to answer this downstairs, but Frederick answered the question. Was I think the way that institutions adopt crypto is a lot more verticalized than we think. So when we think about crypto adoption, we think about somebody deploying a smart contract or building a wallet or deploying their own chain. But I actually think the way that institutions are brought on chain is through like vertical products. So like the thing about Bridge, for instance, who makes a product that seamlessly interact between like bank accounts and stable coins. That's one example of how like an institution gets on chain by solving like an actual vertical problem. So I think that the adoption is going to look a little bit different than we think. It's not going to be like, they're not going to come in and pump our bags in a sense. It's going to be, oh, crypto actually solves the problem, moving money from A to B and stuff like that.
Since, as you mentioned, you are in the space for like 8 years now, you have seen the evolution of the space, right? How as a space which was kind of led by Ethereum, we were inframaxes that maybe increase the decentralization component, increase the number of nodes, or maybe having L1s, L2s, coming up with roll-ups, validiums and everything. Now if you see slowly for the last year or 2 years, the adoption or the talks have been slowly gone towards apps or maybe consumer focused initiatives, or maybe how institutions can be brought. How you are seeing the space, like how, because you have tracked the space very closely, you have contributed, Dune is the very key pillar of everything, how it has helped Dune to shape up as a product, and also how you are tracking the space, how the evolution you are tracking maybe in next 3, 4, 5 years, how the space can be going ahead.
Yes, I think honestly, I couldn't have imagined crypto being where it is when we started Dune. Like DuneCon today is obviously like an event for our company and our community, but it's about the size of like the Ethereum hackathons that I used to go to in 2018. DevConnect is, I think, 25,000 people, which is like 100 times the size of an event in 2018. So really like the scale of not necessarily adoption, but like investment, I guess, like number of people building on crypto has really blown up. How that shapes Dune, I mean, obviously like we need to scale. Like there's a lot more people interested in data and a lot more companies that need data. Our role has always been to make crypto data accessible and be like, we're not trying to be the center of attention in crypto. We're trying to support blockchains. We're trying to support protocols, trying to support these like use cases that bring people on chain. And we're just continuing to do that. Like the last couple of years, people have been very excited about building blockchains. We've helped a lot of blockchains, hundreds of them, to gain distribution, make sure that people have access to tools to query and visualize and share, that you can build apps on top of this data and all of that. So yeah, we try to help, essentially.
Yeah, I think that shows. I think us as a marketeers or us as a media guys, we personally also look after Dune data, because it actually helps to see where the market is maybe going. Maybe the prediction market, when it peaked, everybody I think took a screenshot of the Dune dashboard and say, here poly market peaked. And now since say Call C or maybe other prediction markets which are coming, they kind of compare and see. And the reason I'm mentioning is like Dune dashboards and Dune data actually helps you to give the better, outlook of the market. My final question will be, before if Parth has some questions to ask is about AI and Dune. Recently, if you see like GPTs and LLMs, kind of, it's not there yet, but it will be there maybe in 5-7 years. That if you just put queries, it can do a bunch of things. Now, when I last used Dune a few months back, not been used recently, but a few months back. You used to know a little bit of SQL query. I have a little bit of SQL background. So basic, where, select, if, the basic things you do, get a data of the, the blockchains. In maybe 3 to 5 years, can we have Dune in that way that there will be, interface like GPT, where you like just query and it will give you the exact data you want without, messing up with the system or not hallucinating. Is the team focusing on that, and can we have realistically that thing in 3 to 5 years?
I think so. So if you look back at the history of AI so far, starting from, there's a long history, but starting with like the GPT-4 moment, I think that's when everybody woke up to like, shit, this thing works. ChatGPT launching and, my mother starting to using it. At this point in time, everybody was so hyped about like adding AI to their apps, including Dune. Everybody would just like add a little co-pilot thing into every single application. I think now we're realizing that that's probably not the way the world is going to operate with AI. Instead, you'll use AI more on the operating system level, I think, but it will know how to connect to all the tools that you care about. So I think you're going to have questions about crypto data, and the AI will hopefully choose to use Dune to answer that via like all the connectors. So currently that's the direction we're trying to take, which is instead of us building like a vertical AI solution, opening up Dune so that, agents, ChatGPT, Cursor, Claude, all of these tools can use Dune, because it requires a little bit of, it's not just writing the SQL. You have to find the data sets. You have to understand the data sets. You might want to, in order to understand the data sets, you might have to look at a smart contract, like quite involved. Like if you think about the work that a top Dune wizard does, like they're often like Solidity experts, and they know intimately how 10, 20, 50, 100 of protocols actually work. AI certainly will help them do that, but I guess my point is it's not just like writing select star from table.
Awesome. I think my one last question will be, it's more of a casual question, that you have built Dune as a platform, but as you mentioned about Dune wizards, they really have the brain powers. Have you ever met anybody or seen that you build the platform and somebody have maybe outperformed you in terms of using the platform? Like you build it for XYZ reason and somebody have used Dune to create something so fantastic and you were like, fuck it, I haven't imagined it ever.
Countless times. And this is maybe one of the greatest joys of building a platform, is that you see people who use your platform who just have like, rocket ship careers. I remember in the early days of starting Dune, this must have been like in 2020, we had no money, basically no funding. And I remember somebody received like a $50,000 grant for a Dune dashboard. But Frederick and I, we were broke. Like nobody paid us anything to build Dune. Nobody would fund us, but somebody earned like $50,000 to build a dashboard on Dune. And we were just like, I would like, $50,000. It would be nice. I don't have a salary. But that just continued to happen. And you see like people building dashboards, building careers off of Dune. And it's been really rewarding to be able to be part of that.
Awesome. But if you have a few questions.
Quickly, right off the back, one question I had always was curious about is how decentralized the data is. Like we are working in a so-called decentralized place.
Yeah.
But how decentralized is actually the data, because you know more about the space?
Well, the data on Dune is not decentralized, to put it that way. So we've always thought that, just from like a physics perspective, if you want the best possible performance for a system like Dune, you need to co-locate data. You can't like really decentralize it. We try our best to be worthy of the trust of being like a centralized provider of this data. But also like pragmatically, this is not like for analytics, this is not the data that you need to have decentralized. the data that you need to have decentralized and censorship resistant is actually the blockchain itself. Like you want to make sure that nobody can interfere with your ability to write to the chain. And then you also want to make sure that when you read from the chain that, there's nobody interfering with that. But yeah.
Got it. And second question is, and something that I always loved from Dune is how you look at the UI UX side of things. So what is your approach, and what was your approach like when building? Because whenever you see charts, a lot of people build charts, but to make them look better is like one of the key part. So what's your approach towards the UI UX side of things?
I guess ever since we built the first proper version of Dune, we've always tried to have aesthetics in mind. We've just rebranded, obviously, so Dune today looks a little bit different than it did the past 5 years, but we've always valued sort of the visual elements of it. Obviously, a dashboard is basically the core unit that has made Dune what it is today. So if we had dashboards that were really ugly, that would have not helped, So we've focused on that, and we have an amazing design team and engineering team that spend quite a bit of time to make sure that everything works really seamlessly. And then, of course, like now with the rebrand, we've spent a lot of time with, a top brand agency to make sure that, all the colors line up, everything's really smooth and nice.
Perfect. And last question would be something that you are excited for, like in coming couple of years, and something, a space where you think like there is going to be a lot of eyeballs shifting.
Yeah, I guess that I'm generally speaking incredibly bullish for crypto. I think people have too short of a time frame in mind. Like people think about being a bull or a bear on like a monthly time frame. I checked crypto prices today because in my presentation I had because in my presentation I had like some crypto prices essentially to set the stage for what it was like when Dune was founded. But I haven't looked at this stuff in months, so I think we need to have a longer perspective. Also, I think we need to wake up to the fact that like prices aren't necessarily reflective of the impact that the technology is having. And what I mean by that is like we might wake up one day and see that crypto is completely transforming the world, but like Ethereum, Solana, Bitcoin isn't moving in price because the technology is being deployed and it's powering, remittances or stablecoin payments, but it has nothing to do with the stuff that we've been buying and selling.
I think a lot of people still need to get used to the fact that the product and the coin, or let's say a currency, are two different things. But I think that's a level one that we have to still take. Yeah. A lot of us still consider the price action and the product action to be like something similar. But yeah.
I mean, we all want like crypto to go up and to the right? Obviously, but I think that when we're talking about like institutional adoption, I think maybe our incentives misalign a little bit as a crypto community and as like the very large financial institutions.
Someday think about like a token side of things for you.
I mean, we work in crypto, so obviously we think about it and have thought about it. We're not going to do it. I think it's not going to happen, and we've always said that. People keep suggesting that we should or speculate that we should, but we've always been quite adamant that there's no token. So that's still the stance. So yeah, no token.
Perfect. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, Mac,
cool.
for doing this. Yes.
Thanks for having me.
That's great.